with the howling wind happening, with waves just slamming against your hull, with breaking waves just completely engulfing your boat. That takes another kind of mental, head work. A shed load of fish under the boat. And they attracted the sharks, of course. And next thing, the fish flew out of the water. The shark flew out of the water in chase and landed on my deck. And, there's lots of mindfulness techniques that I've adopted over the time as a result to get me across the ocean and be in that complete isolation where the International Space Station is closer to humanity than I am, just to give it, some sort of perspective.
Hello, beautiful questers, and a warm welcome to the One Quest podcast. We are absolutely delighted to have you with us on this journey of learning and self-discovery.
Our guests are not just mentors in wellness and self-improvement, they are adventurers at heart, sharing their unique paths and life lessons.
If you enjoy our show, please subscribe and share. Your support enables us to feature more amazing guests and deliver impactful conversations. Please note that some episodes may cover sensitive topics like abuse, mental health struggles, and personal challenges. Hello, we're absolutely thrilled to welcome our guest today, Michelle Lee, a record-breaking solo ocean rower, adventurer, and mindset warrior. She's Australia's first woman to row any ocean solo and the first woman in the world to cross the Pacific Ocean completely alone, unassisted, non-stop, covering 14,000 kilometres over 240 days through 5 hurricanes, 4 cyclones and profound solitude. From trekking the Kokoda Trail in just 5 days to hiking through the Himalayas, Michelle's life is a true testament to what's possible when courage, discipline and self-belief come together. In 2019, she rowed across the Atlantic and was named Australian Geographic's Adventurer of the Year. Her personal mantra says it all. Don't die wondering. Start thinking you can and you will. Michelle, it's such a privilege to have you on the Our Infinite Potential podcast. You don't just talk about potential. I mean, you really embody it and what it truly means to live fully. Like through every challenge you've embraced, you've shown us what our infinite potential, really looks like in action. So to kick us off, Michelle, I'd love you to take us back to what first sparked this incredible path you're now on.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I issue a warning about now, and that is be careful what you read. So mine literally, it just came from a book that was handed to me called Rowing the Atlantic. And it was something that just plagued me so consistently and persistently for 2 whole years that I came up with that whole, oh my God, if I don't do this, I'm going to die wondering. So it literally was a book that, ignited some kind of a little spark. And, I had been doing and dabbling, tipping my toe into a couple of other little adventures prior to. And obviously, these things are very addictive. That's another warning. It's very addictive. So the idea of, pushing potential and finding out what is mine, that's just a very genuine curiosity that I have. So all of, one thing leads to another. Next thing you know, you're building a boat and, what can I say?
In the Pacific, yeah. And so at what age, prior to reading this book, surely there was some element of you having this determination, this mindset or something? Like, were you a sporty person? Were you more in the academia side of things? Like, there must have been some drive, motivation, signs that suggest that if you pick up a book that is dangerous, then you're going to go all in.
So as far as training goes, I used to train with an outdoor boot camp, and I found that's probably where I learned I was quite competitive. Yeah, you're competitive at school in cross country and swimming and whatever, but I never excelled. I always would just make it to, do well in my school stuff. But then when it went to state, forget it, I bummed out. So in later life, yes, I found I thrived in those situations of, boot camp style stuff. And I had this thing in my head that I'm going to beat you. I'd look down the line. I think I'm going to beat you, and you're not going to overtake me. Now, these people had no idea. This was all going on in my head. So there's obviously some kind of a little bit of a, competitive edge there anyway. But as far as adventure goes, just say yes and work out the details later. I tend to do that a lot. Someone just threw it out there and said, I'm going to be doing a triathlon. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that. So I lob up with my big steel heavy bike, completely unprepared, have no idea what, a start line looks like, and coming out of the water and getting onto the bike. And, so I just sort of say yes and work out the details later. And then of course, it's all about refining and tweaking and doing it better next time. So I'm very much driven by, how can I do it better next time? And I'm not a perfectionist. I love to just put that out there. So, which is kind of good, I think, because I, don't get caught up in that whole, if it's not perfect, then I'm just going to be paralyzed and I can't go on because it's not perfect. So I love that I'm not a perfectionist. But I just love the whole pushing boundaries, doing it tough. Someone said, we're going to do Kokoda, right? I actually didn't even know what Kokoda was, but I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do it. So again, I didn't really know what the hell I was signing up for, but I loved and thrived that whole regime and discipline that instilled in my life for, the 6 months training prior to, leading up to. We trained really specific and really hard. That also gave me that, oh, wow, how cool is this, man? Like, look, it just turns your life around. It creates that laser beam focus, which I've decided that is when I am the best version of me.
That's awesome. But to go from corporate banking to like being an adventurer at that kind of level, like that's a huge life pivot. Was there something going on internally as well? I mean, I know you said you read a book, but was there something there that made you feel like I need to do something completely new now, or I'm ready for a new adventure? Like, what was that kind of draw that caused that pivot?
Pretty much, I would say 22-year long relationship. So we were together for 10 years, married for 12, added up, we're together for 22 years. We exited that union, and when I was about 38, 39. And that to me was really when I felt like that was my green light, my permission to just do whatever the hell I want without consideration of anybody else. So, I still say this today. I don't answer, don't ask, don't justify, don't explain. And I just do whatever I want. So I think it gave me the permission to go and do that. And while I was in that mode, I was also, I guess, at a stage in my life where I was just looking for more. And I did sit down and I looked at how comfortable my life was, how predictable it was. I had this little list. I'm like, oh my God, I know, by this stage I was now a massage therapist. So I left the corporate world. I was a remedial massage therapist, personal trainer. My clients, I knew them so well. I knew the conversations I was going to have on the table, how much money I was going to make each week. And I just thought, is this as good as it gets? So with that, that's when I decided, well, you need to become someone else. You need to just start saying yes to every opportunity and work the details out later. So, along the way, I have learned that when you commit fully 100% with head and heart, brain and head coherence, the doors just open. Whatever you need, it just comes to you. And I've pushed those boundaries many times to know now. It's just a knowing that whatever I need, when I commit to something fully, so without friction, without that whole, my head's saying one thing, but my heart's going, yeah, as if. You really do have the universe on your side when you just go for it. So that's what I've learned. And, thanks to that book, Rowing the Atlantic, it was given to me at a time in my life when I was ready to really sink my teeth into something. And I thought, well, why not just go and row an ocean? And the biggest thing I got out of the book was Roz Savage, who wrote it. She was not an elite Olympian athlete rower. And yet she could do it. So I thought, well, if she can, I can. And she's no one special. That was my attitude. And I approach now pretty much everything I do. I actually put that to, that's my formula. If you can do it, I can.
And like I said, I guess we don't need a disclaimer then. Like if you were to suggest, hey, don't just go jump in a boat and row the Atlantic, right? Like there's almost a need for disclaimer here. Like don't do crazy stuff is what we're maybe told in life. But you're saying there are no boundaries. There is no limitation. Like if your mind and heart is in line and you believe, then there is nothing that you cannot go out and actually do. And so what are you saying? Are you saying disclaimer or no disclaimer?
Look, you know what, I just think create filters, because I learned very early on that people will project their own fears at you about what you're about to do. And that can actually be quite paralyzing as well. So, you know, their fears of, oh my God, what's going to happen when this happens? What's going to happen if you capsize? What's going to happen if you get sick and you get appendicitis? What's going to happen when a shark wants to attack your boat, or a whale? And these are the things people throw at you. And, you know, I had people telling me all this stuff. You know, Michelle, people perish at sea. They don't even come back. Sometimes they go out there and they don't even come back. And I'm like, okay. So then I just learned that you need to create filters, and you need to be very careful whom you listen to. What have they actually done in their life? So I started to like really narrow down whom I even took my advice from. And that helped me get, because I mean, we've got our own imposter syndrome. You know, there were many times when I did think, oh crap, I have bitten off more than I can chew. And sometimes, you know, with all the deadlines and all of the to-do lists that you have, you know, you're campaigning, you're building a boat, you're learning to row, you've never got enough time, you've never got enough money, you're still running a business. You know, I still had to work through maintaining my business to pay rent, et cetera, et cetera. So you really do have to start to get very, very specific with whom you listen to and where you share your time and whatnot with, so that you can, you know, deal with that imposter syndrome that you're going to have every now and then. That birdie will say, oh my God, who the hell do you think you are? You know, who do you think you can row an ocean, or you can, you know, attempt a world record, etc. So you have to be very choosy whom you pick in your life at these, when you embark on these goals. You just want people who really can support and believe in you, because when you are doubting yourself, sometimes it's their voice that is enough. So, for example, some of my closest friends, you know, they'll say things like this to me all the time. They say it now. Oh, Michelle, you can do anything, whatever you put your mind to. And they just keep reminding me. Sometimes when I have my own little doubts about, you know, where I'm going next or whatever, they'll just say, God, they think I'm like a cat with 9 lives. I just land on my feet all the time. But to that, there is a formula that I do apply. And that is, you go into it with, you know, no friction. You just absolutely commit and say, I'm going to do it no matter what. And then just surrender, and allow all the things to unfold that have to. Sometimes things have to fall away. Sometimes people have to fall away. Just allow it to happen, because you know that the universe has your back, or I do. I know the universe has my back. And I often ask the question now, which is, why is it happening for me and not why is it happening to me? That changes everything. That just resets, you know, my whole frame of mind. If ever I am in doubt, and, you know, it seems like maybe the red carpet's being pulled from under my feet, or, you know, oh, now I've got this roadblock, I think, well, hang on a minute. I wonder why this is happening for me. And it always reveals that it was for my greater good.
Yeah. I love that concept of, you know, sort of meeting the universe halfway, where if you fully commit to something and you take those steps that are really necessary to move into action, that the universe can't not support that. And I love the fact that you've embodied that to such a degree that you're prepared to step that far out of your comfort zone, and just know that no matter what happens, you're exactly where you need to be. And I mean, that takes really listening to your intuition in a very, very deep and profound way. What I'm so curious about is, how much louder is your intuition when you're out there on the ocean and it's so quiet and you're there just with yourself? Is that something that you've really fostered while you've been out there? Like, how's that relationship been building for you since, you know, sort of stepping into this more?
Yeah, it's all you've got. When you're out there and you're that isolated, it is all you've got. But, you know, I used as my testing ground is the build up to get to the start line is so intense, and there's so many things to do that often I was like, oh, wow, thank you. I feel like, you know, you're actually just giving me even more and more opportunity to test my own trust in my own intuition. And, there's lots of mindfulness techniques that I've adopted over the time as a result to get me across the ocean and be in that complete isolation where the International Space Station is closer to humanity than I am, just to give it, some sort of perspective. Wow. So I used techniques from the Silva, the ultra mind control method, meditation. My mentors are Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Gregg Braden, even good old Bob Proctor. And, I thank him so much because many years ago, he woke me out of my slumber by saying, it is our most dissatisfied, disgusted states that you can be in yourself where we are actually our most creative. So it's when you get to that bottom of that, like really assessing and looking at your life or your results, what you're not getting, where you'd prefer to be. And it's in that moment that you can actually just really go, you know what? I need to become someone else. So, like I said, all these little stepping stones that I've been on have produced and introduced me to somebody else who supports and encourages a whole new line of thinking, a whole new paradigm. Lights, bells, buzzers are going off all the time. And I've immersed myself in their material. I, consciously will go and put myself in difficult situations or uncomfortable situations. For example, someone said Vipassana is really hard. And I'm like, oh, what's Vipassana? Oh, it's 10 days of silence. It's a silent retreat. And I'm like, oh, shit, I better put that in my diary because someone said it's hard. So I consciously will go and put myself in things that people say is hard in order to continue building my resilience. That's the only way you do it. You've got to throw yourself in there. And it's much easier when you actually do it consciously, intentionally. I've got a purpose. I know why I'm here. I know it's going to be tough. But I know when I get through the other side, I'm going to have just a whole new level of, I've raised the bar, I've raised the ceiling of my, what is now resilience. And these are the tools that I then use on adventure. So when I go to step out of my life into these adventures that are quite extreme and they're, a little bit off the beaten track, I choose isolation for a reason because it's just a chance to step out of what I call the matrix, everything that is first world. Imagine, uninterrupted rainbows. Imagine no inbox. Imagine no email, no social media. There's just nothing except get back to basics and be in complete harmony with Mother Nature. So going to bed with the sun, waking up with the sun, being out there in all her elements, whatever she wants to chuck at you, and to just sit there and say, you are the boss and I'll just work with you. Whatever you give me today, I will find a way to work with you. So that's kind of where you're at when you're out there. And yeah, you rely on your intuition constantly, even in like the build up to, the decision to do my rollover test, capsize the boat to make sure it self-rights. That was my intuition that just screamed, you need to retest this. I know it's been done. I know it's a tried and tested boat, but something said, let's just do it again. And thank God I did, because my boat did not self-right. All the weight distribution had changed so dramatically from the way I packed the boat for the Atlantic versus the way I had to pack my boat for the Pacific. So there was just this little thing that kept nagging me, just do it again, come on. And it's a big pain in the butt to do. It's creates a whole lot of hoo-ha. You've got to have people to get you on the travel lift. You need the marina to free it up for you. Like, it's a very resource heavy activity to do, but life-saving. And again, I was just like, thank you, intuition. And there's this little thing I do now that, thanks to the Silva technique, which is whenever you have these positive point, there's a positive point of reference. So in order to strengthen your intuition, you need to really acknowledge every time it's been for your greater good. So I will always say, whenever I have to think, feel, believe, or behave this way, all I have to do is put my three fingers together and know that it is so. So every time there is a positive result, from me trusting my gut, that feeling, whether it's that heaviness in your chest, or you've got, like nerves in your stomach, or you've got like, you feel like you can't swallow. To me, that's my intuition speaking loud and clear. And when that happens, I am just hands off, put my foot on the brake. Sometimes you don't even know why, but I just honor that 100%, and I just stop everything and breathe, and realize later that was my intuition protecting me from something.
I cannot imagine what it would have been like to work through all of those moments of exhilaration, being under the stars, seeing whales, whatever marine life you would have experienced out there, to the roaring ocean and everything else. Like, I'm sure that the mind wanted to come in and take over and play games and things like that. And with mental health issues these days, like, some people struggle to get up in the morning, as an example. So there's this end, and then there's the things that you've been doing where you've put yourself in a position where you're wanting to challenge your mental strength to see just how far you can push. Like, were there some challenging, difficult moments, where it was like really, really like, what am I doing? How am I going to get through this? These seas are big. I'm on my own. Like, I'm in the middle of the ocean. Literally, like, the furthest rescue point from here is however many hours away. Like, where did you go in those moments when you're like, times are tough, but I can work through this? Can you share anything on that?
Yeah, good one was, as prepared as I try to be before you leave and you lose sight of shore, there is plenty of scenarios that you just cannot mimic and mock prior to departure. So I knew I'm still going to be in a world of firsts with lots of things. So waiting for my first hurricane, waiting for my first hurricane. So we knew it was coming. My weather router, I was in contact with him via my sat phone. He got really great data. 10 days out, he knew something was forming. And, with every day closer, he would then have an idea of where it's going to track. So in the 2 days leading up to, he knew it was going to come across my path. And he was saying, prepare the boat, Michelle. You need to get prepared because you're going to be locked up in that cabin. So make sure you've got extra water. Start making a reserve of water. Start putting ready-made food in your cabin, and prepare that you're going to be locked up there for maybe 3 or 4 days. So it was the 2 days leading up to, and all of a sudden I just got this like wave of what I now know as anxiety. And I've never suffered with anxiety in my life, but I could hardly move. My limbs felt like lead. I was like literally gasping for to breathe. And I'm like, oh my God, this is anxiety. And I'm like trying to, feel again. And I'm thinking, shit, people suffer with this every day. How do they get out the door? My head started going to, oh my God, imagine. So then I'm thinking, hang on a minute. You've got tools. You are actually equipped. You just need to interrupt this momentarily. So straight away, I just went straight to Dr. Joe Dispenza. I hit play. I had a beautiful meditation, which just guides me and tells me what to do. So straight away, I thought, okay, we'll get him on. I thought I also had homeopathy. My beautiful naturopath made a whole beautiful homeopathy kit. And one of the vials was labeled anxiety. So
love it.
Oh, no, I'm getting my fucking anxiety. So next thing, I'm like, I pop it open. It says put 2 in your mouth. So I put 2 in my mouth and breathing. So I went back to basics, really focusing on my breath, using my breath as an anchor to bring me just to the here, to the now. And now I know what they mean when they say, come to the present moment. Well, breath makes that so much easier, bringing your focus back to your breath. And then so I spent 3 minutes actually counting 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was exhaling for 6, breathing in for 4. I was doing this and exhaling for the 6. And then within 3 minutes, I brought myself back to, I would say, almost baseline. But it's because I had the tools, and because I also reminded myself that, holy shit, if I don't get a grip on this, I don't know how this is going to spiral down. I don't know where I'm going to end up. So, and, you know, knowing that I really only have myself to rely on in this moment out there in the middle of nowhere. So yes, the moments for me, thanks to breathing, thanks to meditation, thanks to, you know, all the guided stuff that, you know, my Silva coach and trainer, mentor, Janine, she made a whole heap of stuff for me on Audible that I could just listen to. But these are the things that help bring me back to the now and made me be able to, you know, calm my whole nervous system. Now I can think straight again. But I also had, in the event of these things happening, I also had checklists that I could just pull out, you know, just even just on daily function. And I had all these little checklists. How do I turn on my water maker? So, you know, because when you're in that moment, it's like you forget everything, even the stuff that you've done every single day. So I had my checklist that basically went through: 1, turn power on; 2, put hose in, like full on step-by-step guide, how to operate my radio, just everything. So preparation, you've got to be prepared. This is why I love to say to people, man, just start listening, start getting a little bit of a toolkit that you have, so that when shit hits the fan, then you can just reach for it, grab it off the shelf, and try and test it during just normal life, so that when something does big happen, you know that you've got the tools. And now it's just the discipline factor that it takes to require you to just grab it, sit down, and go back to basics, go back to your breath. It really does work. I've put it to the test in the harshest conditions, you know.
That's crazy. And you said that's the first hurricane. It says in your bio that you had 5 hurricanes you went through and 4 cyclones.
Yeah.
How much anxiety drops did you have left by the end of all of that?
No. So the first was the worst. Yeah. Like, you know.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And after that, I was like, oh, okay. Now I know what to do. Now I actually know how some of my equipment works, because I had equipment that you could not test unless you're in the real condition. And that was, you know, so for example, my sea anchor, my drogue that I would throw off my bow, which is just 100 meters of line with 30 small cones spaced out and spliced into the line. So I would just chuck that off the bow, and then it hooks into the conditions and pulls my boat so that I am I'm nose into rather than beam on, because that's when I'm at high risk of capsizing. So the first time I ever threw that thing off the bow, I'm thinking, oh my God, like I've watched it on YouTube 1,000,000 times and everyone raved about the Jordan Series Drogue. So that's why I bought it. It was a big ticket item. It was made beautifully for my boat, you know. And so every time you do these things, of course, I don't have to be nervous next time, because I know how this thing works. I put it out there. I go into my cabin. I shut the door, which is a watertight hatch. And now I just wait out the storm, because there's nothing else I can do. So again, you know, you get in the cabin. Of course, it's very noisy. You can imagine a little tiny carbon fiber shell now with the howling wind happening, with waves just slamming against your hull, with breaking waves just completely engulfing your boat. So now that takes another kind of mental, you know, head work. So again, while I was in my cabin, yes, I was just doing the same thing, just doing my breathing activities, just having some beautiful guided meditation, and you just wait it out. That's all. 9 days.
Yeah.
You make it sound so easy.
And I emerged 9 days later. So my weatherman was telling me to expect maybe between 2 and 4 days. 9 days. It's like going into your lounge room and lay underneath your little coffee table. That's how much space I basically had for 9 days. So you get to know yourself very well in there, in that tiny little, you know, hidey hole.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the fortune of sailing a boat from Noumea back to Sydney, and it was in 2019 when there was the very, very severe bushfires up and down the east coast. And as we approached the coast, it just looked like something I couldn't even imagine. There was orange sky and smoke, and you could smell it. And then we sailed into this thunderstorm, and I'm, you know, experiencing this moment, and I'm, you know, I've never been there before. And then I got back to Sydney and everything was fine. And I sat down and the captain, his sister came along to be like, hey, welcome back. You guys have been offshore for a while. And we're sitting there. And I was like, oh, listen, I got to tell you this story, right? It was like all this stuff and it was horrendous and it was crazy. And she was like, oh, yeah, that reminds me when we were off the coast of Madagascar for 5 days and we just had to hove to, like, batten down the hatches and just sit in this storm. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, like, my moment, which is quite, extreme at this time, is not necessarily as extreme for others, right? So you're in that moment and then you've had your 9 days battened down and you've got through it, which I'm sure at the time was pretty full on, but it's set you up for other moments, right? Like, I guess at some point since then, you've relied on this. You've looked back to it and you've thought, well, I've survived 9 days in this situation. Like, surely I can do what's in front of me now.
Yeah.
Is that something that you lean on?
Absolutely. And this is why I say to people, push boundaries in your normal everyday life. Just every week, do something that's hard, because that's exactly what it does. It just shows you how resilient you actually are. And if ever you stay inside the confines of the Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, you just have no idea what you have. You don't. How? You haven't tested it. So the more you do it, the more everyday life is, whatever. Your little hiccups are just like, rather than, and so, yeah, you got to put yourself in some situations that are uncomfortable, that are a bit scary, because at the end of them, you do come out stronger, and it does give you a whole new way to frame things, down the track when shit happens, because it does. That is life. We don't live in rainbows and butterfly kind of scenarios. You got to do some tough shit, man. And it's much better when you've consciously chosen to put yourself there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's where all the teachings are, really, isn't it? Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, you've had all of these amazingly challenging and difficult times when you've sort of really been tested. But what about the times when you're looking around at just the beauty of nature and the world around you, and just like, that would have been such an amazing time to be able to be out there in the middle of the ocean and looking around and thinking, I can't believe I'm part of all of this. Like, it would have been spectacular and quite spiritual, I would have thought.
Oh, totally. Like, when a bird just comes and literally hovers at eye level. I'm just minding my own business, just rowing in my zone. And this bird was hovering at me, eye level, gazing into my eyes. I could feel, his the wind of his feathers, of his wings. And he did it for an extended period of time, to the point where I was like, oh my God, like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, who are you? So now I'm looking for, like, maybe is there a message I'm supposed to receive? And then, a turtle will just show up. A turtle in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and he's like banging on my hull as if to say, hey, I'm here. And then when the turtle shows up, everyone comes out from under the boat. So I had this whole show going on. The turtle was like the rock star. It's like they just rolled out the red carpet. He comes. Everything that is under my boat now is swarming over the turtle and like kissing him and taking all the shells off his back. So I realized that's what they're doing. They're actually taking all the crustaceans off him. And he's like, yeah, all right. Then what else was there? I had a shark land on my boat. So he was just chasing the fish around my boat. So, they say they feed at morning and night. It's true. Sundown, sunrise. So at sunset, it was like a feeding frenzy under my boat. There was always a shed load of fish under the boat. And they attracted the sharks, of course. And they play all beautifully together during the day. Everyone's happy and harmonious. But as soon as sundown, look out. So the fish were trying to stay close to the hull, I'm guessing for protection. And the shark is chasing them. So now they're like thrashing around like maniacs. And next thing, the fish flew out of the water. The shark flew out of the water in chase. and landed on my deck. So, all this happens. And then you've got these uninterrupted rainbows that you just sort of, oh my gosh, you'd open the hatch at night and I'd look up at the night sky and I had all these, oh, wow. Like, you never get tired of it, but your level of appreciation for it without distractions is through the roof. So here, first world, we have so many distractions that people probably don't even see it. You know what I mean? However, when you're out there and you've got no distractions, these things are just like, a movie. Let's put something on tonight. What are we going to watch? Oh my God. It was kind of like that, and who would come to visit me, during the day. And like I said, with the bird life, you do kind of think that they're trying to tell you something, or more to the point for me, I just never felt alone. So I used to say, alone and lonely, they are not in my vocab, because I believe that everything that was around me was a spirit or a prayer, an intention of, good wishes for me from everyone back home and everyone who was following me. So I feel like, it's amplified, it's magnified across the water. My God, can you imagine? So that was the story that went on in my head, was all these things around me, all this life is just an extension of people's good intentions. And this is why I never felt alone. I really, 240 days, you never would have heard me say, I feel lonely or I feel alone. I felt bored when I was stuck in my cabin for 9 days. I was bored. Yeah. And if you're on my phone list, you got a call. I had a 24-hour sat phone. I really got my money's worth during those lockdowns.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes people might be looking for experiences, something bigger. And you said it so well. Like, we can get caught up in our day-to-day lives with busy noises and traffic and advertising and phones and all this sort of stuff. But really, like, if you want experiences, true experiences, all you have to do is leave your house. You have to get out and just go find a little piece of nature. Or, as you've experienced it, which is quite, different, you were out in the ocean, and not everyone's equipped for that, but we do have options to have experiences. We can change our environment.
I ask you, just disconnect to reconnect. So leave the house for a weekend without your phone. Just leave it, turn it off, put it on airplane mode. Tell everybody, guess what? I'm not contactable this weekend, which gives people a bit of a, you see a dose of anxiety right there when you suggest leaving the phone at home. Don't answer it. Don't even look at, turn all your alerts off. So I don't have alerts on my phone. I don't own a TV. I don't listen to the radio, and I don't read a newspaper. I literally do not know what is going on in the world. And I am okay with that. As I've been told, oh, it's so ignorant. What a way to live, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I've consciously chosen it and I love it. I don't get caught up in the hype of, when, for example, my mum rings me, oh my God, Michelle, did you hear what happened in Bondi? I'm like, is it bad news, Mum? She goes, it's terrible. I said, I don't want to know. So I didn't find out that day. I found out days later, but all that energy had been diffused by then. So I don't get caught up in all that hype of, and, this is what I say, like, we don't need people are creating the levels of anxiety themselves. No one's doing it to them. But if they just put that thing down and stop scrolling and stop, being worried about who's liked what or whatever, life is much nicer.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've really confronted fear in like such a profound way that most people never even get to touch, really. Like, and disconnecting from that kind of unity consciousness, fear and scarcity, and being able to disconnect from that. And I mean, like you said, it's through our social media, it's in our news. Does that help you a lot when it comes to how you feel about, I guess, how you move forward in life, and be able to remove some of that sort of self-defeating, almost anti-talk that we have in our own heads? It's easy to get caught up in that on a
kind of community level and on a social level. But do you find by disconnecting that's like it's cleaner for you?
Oh, absolutely. I only have to listen to my friends, my closest friends, um, uh, what the anxiety does to them, and they know it does. They admit it. They tell me, "Oh my God, I saw that post," and I'm like, "Oh, what?" I'm like, "Just get rid of it. Just don't get involved. You don't have to." But it's like a train wreck. They can't. It seems like they can't. So, yeah, my conscious decision to not be involved in it, I do believe it gives me a freedom that I want everyone to have. I just want everyone to know this freedom. Uh, oh, and I actually say to people, "Oh my God, welcome to my world," and I try to explain. I'm flat out answering text messages and stuff. I really am. Uh, Probably a little bit too much the other way when you run a business and stuff, you know what I mean? But the struggle was real. When I got off that boat, I'd been out at sea for 240 days, come back to first world. Now you got to go and you got to, start looking at an inbox, and you got to go and do a grocery shop. It took me 4 goes, walk in and out of Coles 4 times before I could actually go, because I just felt like I looked around and everyone looked to me very robotic. There was the noise coming through the bloody speakers, which I thought, did they always filter that shit through here? Or am I just hypersensitive now? Because I've had unlimited time and space, out there.
Yeah.
And now I'm coming here and I'm listening to this programming crap that's on some freaking loop. Oh my God. And it was so loud in my head. And I'm looking at the people just robotically doing their thing. And I'm thinking, I got to get out of here. So, and the bright lights, the artificial lights, that did something to my brain. So I went back home and I gave my shopping list to my roommate. I said, would you mind just doing my... So by about the 4th go, she's like, it's really time that you go and face the music, Michelle. So I had to go and do it myself. But yeah, my struggle and my avoidance to get back into the demands of first world was probably about 4 months worth of struggle street. And it doesn't have to be that hard either. So I had to have to talk to myself, and it doesn't have to be that hard either. I made it more difficult with my resistance. My resistance was so strong.
But that makes complete sense. Like 240 days without that, like it would be so obvious and so noticeable, all of the challenges and all of the things that like people just become very numb to. Like, yeah, you must have been hypersensitive and alert to all of the little bits and pieces, the traffic noises, the traffic signals, the everything that comes with society. It's just, you're in a room in an apartment or a house or wherever you are, you're like, this isn't as exciting as being in under a coffee table for 9 days. Like, geez, it must be chalk and cheese what you had to experience coming back to reality. Not reality, like whatever we call this, something.
Yeah, reality. Like the sights, smells and sounds and everything that's first world, it was actually overwhelming initially for me. It was quite overwhelming, I had to kind of like choose my crowds and even my peeps, I just wanted my close peeps around me, my small circle of friends. I didn't want to be doing, big event venue type stuff or, so that all just took a little bit of time. But it's also my preference even now, like, in first world, I love to just exit whenever we go for a hike. I never take my phone. My friends take photos and I just say, can you share them with me when we get back? Thank you. So it's a world that I am more comfortable in, where it's, less at you, all the buzz and distraction.
There's so much there, really. In so much of the meditation practice that we do, we always talk about the fact that it's not what you do when you're on the mat, it's how you bring that into your day-to-day life. And we often think that concept, oh, it'd be so good if we could just totally disconnect and go and be in a cave for 6 months, because then we could get it really, like, we'd be really good meditators then, and we would really be able to calm our mind. But I mean, you've had that real firsthand experience of what that's like to actually totally disconnect and have the time and build the practices and then be able to bring that back into life. So I find it's fascinating how that's something that's been so important to you, to still how you've brought that back in, and the choices that you've made as to how much you connect or not. But were there any kind of little rituals that you sort of used to reground and reconnect when you came back that actually helped you get back going again? Because after that much time in solitude, I mean, even after doing a silent retreat, you can't just flick that switch. It's not that simple, is it?
Yeah, so I am a a routine and rituals girl, to be honest. So there are little things that I do use as an anchor, and it's just even crystals. Like I've got my little mookaite rock. She's been across both oceans with me, and just holding that for me is like a thing of calmness. I just have so much belief in that little piece of crystal that that's enough for me now. So you've got to find things that you connect to, and you can have it just in your handbag, have it in your pocket. Find what is your thing. Breathwork, the 4x6 in 4 out for 6. I mean, the belief in that, and I've seen that actually in my body. When my skin, because what I learned at Vipassana is when I did the 10-day silent retreat, and this is what I love too. My life is stepping stones, and you just keep building and building and building on things. And the stuff that I learned through Vipassana, man, I wish I did that when I was 20 years old. If I had have known how to live, or even heard of the word equanimous, to be equanimous, and to know that impermanence, everything changes. Like just those two things that you hear over and over at Vipassana, to be able to maintain a calm and level mind no matter what, to not crave the good things in life, and to not avert the bad things in life. So not have aversion for the bad things in life. Like if you could imagine, think of a scenario, a situation in your life where something happened and you've just gone, that's your reaction, your natural knee-jerk reaction. Imagine if you knew how to live equanimously and know that the law of impermanence, everything changes, nothing stays the same, and you could maintain that. The results that you get in your life, and I've put this into practice, change immediately. As soon as you adopt these philosophies, and you go do the Vipassana, everyone. Go and spend 10 days in absolute silence. Do not open your mouth. Go inwards. Sit on your mat for 10 hours with your eyes shut, meditation. Sit in sometimes severe, gross, intense pain, but that is where the growing and the learning comes from, and that is where you get to know exactly what is your habit pattern. So, my habit patterns, they're very confronting, and the stuff you don't even want to see, and you're like, oh my God, and there's nowhere to run and hide. So it's, I take that into my everyday life quite seriously, because when you do something that intense, it has to have an effect on you. And that is why they do it for no less than 10 days. You must do 10 days. You cannot exit. Well, you can, but it's set for 10 days for a reason, to sit in that discomfort and to, I actually came out of there and I said, if you're not born with your ailment, so you now have arthritis, you have an autoimmune disease, or you have whatever's going on in your body, if you weren't born with it, I am convinced you've created it personally. You have created it. And I say that because of what I was carrying, autoimmune-ish, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And I saw it just erupt while I was in there because I didn't get my own way. So I learned that, my reaction when I don't get my own way. But yeah, I would love everyone to go and do it and adopt it, adapt it, and see their life change, But you're right. Doing all this thing on a retreat is one thing. You still have to come back to first world. So it's a discipline. It's an ongoing discipline that you need to apply. And you'll do it when you know the benefits. When you start just seeing a few of the little benefits, that's enough. That's a motivator. to make you go and sit on your mat. Go and sit in your 1 hour of silence today and just focus on nothing but your breath. Just observe. That is all your job is. Observe the sensations in your body as if you are hovering from up here watching. It's not you. It's not your knee that's going to pop out because you're sitting in the cross-legged position. So yes, I do. I take them through my daily life, and it's a discipline to remove myself, to practice these things. What can you turn off? Is there a program? Because people, I don't have time. Well, maybe there's a program that you sit and watch for 1 hour. Just sacrifice that for a week and just see what happens. You can always go back to that program, man. Don't worry about it. It'll be there. It ain't going anywhere. But if you just try this and just honestly have a good hard look at your life and see if it changes, that's enough motivation. With any of the techniques I've done that have got me through rowing across an ocean. And I can say that because the Atlantic Ocean, which I did in 2018, I had none of these techniques, not one. I didn't meditate. I didn't do any mind work. I didn't do anything to help me get across because I didn't think I needed it. I just thought, oh my God, imagine that. No inbox, no email, none of this, none of that. I thought this is going to be my heaven. But I didn't do any groundwork for the Atlantic. So the difference is, night and day. And that's why I'm saying to everyone now, just start getting a few little things in your toolkit, in your mental toolkit that you can pull out when the going gets tough, and you can skip through life. Event hard to life easy. When I say event hard, I mean go and choose something that's bloody tough so that you can then life easy, because you are constantly going to be building new benchmarks.
And for the listeners, listening to someone like you who's been on a huge, huge adventure in life, it can be, I think, maybe overwhelming, where people are like, oh, geez, how can I ever achieve anything like that? So if we were to go back to layman's like entry-level stuff, when we're wanting to find one tool, and we're talking about toolkits, right? We've got multiple tools in the toolkit, but when we're wanting to just establish our first tool, like you've mentioned Joe Dispenza and the Silva Method, I'm sure Tony Robbins is on your list. Like there's plenty of resources out there, but how would you recommend that someone like just starts to dabble in this space of finding a tool, something that helps them today to progress to tomorrow to then build on?
This is going to sound harsh, but it is.
Come on, let's hear it.
I wouldn't expect anything less, Michelle.
Just do it scared. You got to just do it scared. So launch yourself off the sofa for whatever it is that you've been umming and ahhing about. There's been something that's plaguing you want to do. You just do it scared initially. And then what you'll find is you'll start to reach out to people. So you'll start to find the value in asking for help. We're so caught up in this whole got to be independent, got to do it myself, rah. So you'll actually just start to learn the value of going straight to the expert. I always say go straight to the expert. Try to cut out the middleman or the man that, oh yeah, I think you could do. No. Go to the expert. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable or to show your vulnerability in, I don't know how to do it, whatever. First of all, if that thing is a little bit scary, now you know you're on the right path. So, in order to create change, it's got to be different to familiar, different to the stuff that you know. So it's got to be a little bit scary. And if it is, okay, you're on the right path. Now, just take one step into that fear and now start thinking, well, who could help me here? Who could give me the tips that I need? And you pick up the phone, you get in contact with those people. And then, trust me, the doors will open. People will come. The resources that you need will come. And before you know it, you're in too deep and you just got to keep going. I've done that many times. It's like, oh, shit, I can't turn around now. I've gone too far.
And that's a hard thing.
It is.
That's really hard, like to remove the ego, to remove the fear, to to do all of that, like that's really challenging to just take that lunge, that leap, and let go of it all.
Yeah, I learned a lot of lessons by that, but I also learned, it's two-way. The beauty of allowing someone to help you, they're also receiving, they're getting, there's this whole exchange of endorphins, of oxytocin, of, all the feel-good hormones, dopamine. It's ripple effect, So by you allowing yourself to be vulnerable, put your hand up, tail between leg, whatever, however you want to look at it, ego, pipe down. And then allowing someone else to come into your life, allowing them to give their expertise, their knowledge, whatever it is, the donation, whatever. It's a two-way receivership going on here, give and receive. So it was so beautiful for me to be part of all of that, and constantly, I've been the beneficiary of people helping. But then, later on I hear, oh my God, you just changed my life. You gave my life direction. You gave me some purpose. You gave me. So these are the stories that I get back from, I think, oh my God, thank you. I'm so glad that you actually feel like you received something as well, because I did. But then it also helps you go into a whole new mindset of the give, receive, So I feel like I am more willing to help people because I've been the beneficiary so many times. So it just makes you be a better person.
Totally. And do you have, I'm guessing the answer is going to be yes, but do you have a new project on the horizon that's a little bit exciting for you at the moment? I wouldn't think you'd be playing small right now.
Well, I mean, I know I really want to do one more ocean. So yeah, definitely want to go. Yeah. So if I do the Indian, then I've done a lap of the globe between me and my little Australian maid. So originally the same boat. So yeah, and again, this is the thing. It starts as a thought, and then, it's like a dripping tap. It tortures you until you do it. So that's it. That's exactly what's going to happen. So yeah, my little boat, she's got one more ocean, and I have one more ocean in me. Again, I didn't get it right the first time. The second time, I still made lots of mistakes. There's, I know I can do it better by a little bit more tweaking and refining, even the way I packaged my food, the contents that I packed, like so much will change again. I will learn a shed load more. And I just want to put all this new practice into place, my new Vipassana stuff. I want to put that into place out there, because I said to myself, God, if I had have known this when I was out there, I would have had a different time again, It's just creating all these new experiences. But even work-wise, I've just decided I've got way too cruisy and too comfortable doing what I'm doing right now. So I'm about to shake shit up, and I'm just going to go and get all my licenses for excavator, for bobcat, and I'm going to go and work in some quarries and mines, because this is getting too cruisy and too comfortable. I'm not learning, I'm not growing. And I said to my roomie, I need to start firing and rewiring some new neurons and networks, because everything I'm doing right now, I can do with my eyes shut. I can do it, easy peasy. That's not good. That is not a good place to be. Be afraid of that.
Well, there was a 3-man team who did the Indian just a couple of years ago. I know one of the guys, Ben, I was sitting down having a chat with him about that experience, and he said that the dynamics of having multiple people on the boat, kind of added another element to it, because then there's conversations and, emotions and all the different things that come into play with that. So it might be that doing the solo row could be just the right way to do it for some people. And then there's, I think, 3 brothers who are doing a big Pacific row at the moment.
The McLaren brothers.
Yeah, tuned into all of that stuff. So I can only imagine what would go on at sea with 3 brothers. Like, I've got two boys, and just from day to day, geez, being stuck in an ocean with all of the challenges and emotions in life between 3 brothers. If they make it to shore alive without killing each other, that'd be amazing. But yeah, solo row, it's quite incredible what you achieved. So kudos to you. Well done.
See, I get to win every argument on my boat as a solo.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a trio of hardened American soldiers on one boat when I did the Atlantic. And so they were a team. And there was one of the guys in the cabin videoing secretly. The door was open and he's videoing this pair having an argument out on deck. You don't know which way to go. Are you questioning me? And they're carrying on like pork chops. And he's sitting in the cabin and then you just hear this as he closed the door and he's like, oh, so that's the difference between being solo and but then imagine being able to like share those magical moments with someone. I miss out on that when I'm out there by myself, being able to hold someone's hand and say, oh, look at that rainbow.
But are you actually alone? Like, you're not alone out there.
No, true.
Not for
exactly.
a second. And I'm
True.
sure if you ask for a sign that you're not alone and that there are, the whole universe is there behind you, that you would have got it too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Amazing. Look, we're just so thrilled that you came on the podcast today. Thank you so much. You so embody what this podcast is all about, and just pushing the limits and tuning in and really living from that deep place of knowing. It's just been so inspiring and moving, and just such a joy to hear your story. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Thank you. And I'm sorry it took so long to finally get here. But I really appreciate the opportunity to share and hopefully inspire some of your audience to just do it. Don't die wondering.
Yeah, thank you. And Michelle, all we've spoken about really, there's a lot in what we've just discussed, but we kind of just spoke about this row, and there's so much more to what you do and who you are. At a later stage, it would be great to get you back on to talk more about those things. And we'll put some of the links as to your solo rower website, and that you do public speaking events to help motivate people, your mindset talks and all this sort of thing. This is just a small glimpse as to the things that you do now as a result of the things you have been doing. So there's so much more to who you are. And I think it'd be great to get you back in the future and have a little bit more of a chat about those things outside, because we barely touched on, the other elements outside of a row, really.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. It'd be a pleasure to come back on. I'd love that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing some of your experiences and some of the things that you use to get through those moments. It's been great to listen to. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, kids. Thank you.
Big love.
Big love. Yeah, right back at